I learned to breathe shallow at age 14. Deep breaths hurt too much after what Mom did, but Dad said we couldn't go to the hospital. The last questions he warned, helping me wrap an ace bandage around my chest. You know how your mother gets when she's stressed. She didn't mean it. I wanted to argue that throwing me against the kitchen counter hard enough to crack ribs wasn't an accident, but I stayed quiet. That's what we did in our house. Stay quiet. Keep the peace. Protect Mom's reputation as the beloved third-grade teacher at Lincoln Elementary. James, Dad whispered, using the gentle voice he always used after Mom's episodes. We just need to get through this rough patch. She's been under a lot of pressure at work. I nodded, wincing as the movement sent sharp pains through my side. Mom had been under pressure for as long as I could remember. Everything set her off: dishes in the sink, homework questions, the wrong tone of voice. Usually it was just screaming and throwing things. This time was different. What if something's really broken? I asked, trying to keep the fear out of my voice. Dad didn't like it when I showed weakness. Said it would only make Mom feel worse about what she'd done. We'll give it a few days, he replied, carefully adjusting the ice pack. Your mother feels terrible about what happened. She's been crying in her room for hours. Of course she was. Mom always cried after she hurt me. Then she'd make my favorite dinner, buy me something nice, and pretend nothing had happened. Dad called it her way of apologizing. I called it the cycle, but only in my head. School the next day was agony. Every movement, every breath, every time someone bumped into me in the crowded hallway sent waves of pain through my body. By third period, I was sweating and dizzy. James, are you all right? Mr. Rodriguez, my biology teacher, caught me as I swayed at my lab station. You look pale. I'm fine, I said automatically. Just tired. He frowned, not believing me. Mr. Rodriguez was different from other teachers. He noticed things, asked questions. Sometimes I wished he wouldn't. You're holding your side, he observed quietly, and you barely touch your lab equipment. That's not like you. I forced a smile. Pulled a muscle playing basketball, I lied. The same lie I'd been telling since freshman year whenever someone noticed my injuries. The bell rang, saving me from more questions. But as I gathered my books, Mr. Rodriguez placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. You know, he said casually, too casually, Dr. Thomas, the new school physician, is in today. He's really good with sports injuries. Maybe you should let him take a look. My heart started racing. We didn't do doctors in our family. Mom said they were nosy, always prying into private family matters. Dad said they were too expensive, though I knew that wasn't true. He was a successful accountant, and we had good insurance. I really need to get to my next class, I mumbled, trying to move past him. James. Mr. Rodriguez's voice stopped me. The nurse's office is doing free physical exams today. No appointment needed. No parents needed. I froze. No parents needed. The words echoed in my head. It's just a pulled muscle, I insisted weakly. Then you have nothing to worry about, he replied, writing me a hall pass. Better safe than sorry, right? I took the pass with trembling hands, knowing this moment would either save me or destroy everything. As I limped toward the nurse's office, I could feel the weight of secrets pressing against my broken ribs with every breath. What I didn't know then was that Dr. Thomas wouldn't just examine my injuries. He would become the first adult to refuse to look away. And his refusal to stay quiet would shatter my family's carefully constructed facade of normalcy forever. Sometimes salvation comes in the form of an X-ray and someone brave enough to ask the right questions. The nurse's office was quiet when I walked in, just the soft hum of fluorescent lights and the ticking of a wall clock. A man in a white coat was writing something in a folder. Dr. Thomas, I assumed. He looked up when I entered, and something in his expression made me want to turn and run. You must be James, he said, setting down his pen. Mr. Rodriguez called ahead. Of course he did. My hands started shaking harder. It's just a pulled muscle, I said quickly. I probably shouldn't waste your time. Let me be the judge of that, he replied, gesturing to the exam table. Can you lift your shirt for me? I hesitated. The bruises were still fresh, purple and angry against my skin. Once he saw them, there would be no going back. James, he said softly, whatever you show me stays between us. Unless. Unless what? Unless I see something that indicates you're in danger. His eyes met mine. Then I have a legal obligation to report it. My heart pounded. Even if I beg you not to. Even then, he stepped closer, his voice gentle but firm. Now, let me see what we're dealing with. Slowly, my hands shaking, I lifted my shirt. I heard his sharp intake of breath at the sight of my torso. The massive bruising along my right side, the obvious swelling, the awkward way my ribs protruded. Who did this to you, James? I fell. I whispered the familiar lie. Playing basketball. Dr. Thomas touched my side gently, his fingers probing the worst areas. Even that light pressure made me gasp. Basketball, he repeated, his tone making it clear he didn't believe me. And these older bruises here, and here? He pointed to yellowing marks from previous accidents. I'm clumsy, I said weakly. He stepped back, crossing his arms. I've treated a lot of sports injuries, James. Basketball falls don't leave handprint-shaped bruises. I looked down, watching my tears splash onto the linoleum floor. Please, I whispered, you can't tell anyone. She'll lose her job. Dad will never forgive me. She? Dr. Thomas's voice sharpened. Your mother did this? I couldn't speak, but my silence was answer enough. These ribs are broken, he said after a moment. You need x-rays immediately. This kind of injury can cause internal damage if left untreated. Dad said they'd heal on their own. Your father knows about this. The edge in his voice grew harder, and he didn't seek medical attention for you. I tried to explain, to make him understand. Mom's not well. She gets stressed, and sometimes she can't control herself. Dad says we have to protect her. No, Dr. Thomas cut me off firmly. Your parents are supposed to protect you, not the other way around. This isn't your burden to carry, James. He turned to his desk and picked up the phone. My heart nearly stopped. What are you doing? Calling an ambulance, he replied, already dialing. Then Child Protective Services. No, I tried to grab the phone, ignoring the pain that shot through my side. You don't understand. They'll take me away. It'll destroy my family. Dr. Thomas gently but firmly moved my hand away from the phone. Your family is already destroyed, James. Any parent who hurts their child, and any parent who helps cover it up, has already broken that family. What I'm doing is trying to save you. She'll lose everything, I whispered. Her job, her reputation. And you could lose your life if one of these attacks hits the wrong spot. He countered. Those ribs could puncture alone. One push too hard could cause internal bleeding. Are you willing to die to protect someone who's hurting you? Put that way, it sounded insane, but it had been my normal for so long. Your mother needs help, he continued more gently. Real help, not enablers who hide her abuse. And you need to be safe. The ambulance arrived within minutes. As the paramedics loaded me onto a stretcher, I saw Mr. Rodriguez in the hallway, watching with sad eyes. He nodded at me, a silent confirmation that he'd known, that he'd engineered this moment of intervention. Dr. Thomas rode with me to the hospital. Your parents will be notified, he told me, but they won't be allowed to see you until CPS has evaluated the situation. You're safe now. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of years of secrets finally lifting. I don't know how to be safe, I admitted. I only know how to be quiet. He squeezed my hand. Then it's time to learn something new, starting with using your voice. As the ambulance raced toward the hospital, I thought about Mom, probably teaching her class right now, handing out gold stars and making her students feel special. I thought about Dad, sitting in his office, pretending our home life was normal. Their carefully constructed facade was about to crumble, all because one doctor refused to look the other way. One doctor who decided my safety was more important than their secrets. For the first time in years, I took a deep breath. Despite the pain, despite the fear, despite everything, it was time to stop being quiet. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone help you. The hospital corridor erupted in chaos when my parents arrived. I could hear Mom's voice, that familiar mix of rage and desperate charm she used when trying to maintain control of a situation. There's been a terrible misunderstanding, she was saying, her teacher voice in full effect. My son is prone to exaggeration. We would never. Mrs. Carter, a firm voice interrupted. Dr. Thomas. The x-rays show 3 broken ribs and evidence of previous fractures that healed without medical attention. That's not exaggeration, that's abuse. How dare you? Mom's voice shifted, that terrifying edge I knew too well creeping in. I am a respected educator. This is ridiculous. Jane, please, Dad's voice, always trying to smooth things over. Let's just calm down and don't tell me to calm down. Our son is spreading lies about our family. Through my hospital room window, I could see the police officers stationed outside exchange glances. They'd seen this before. The denial, the attempts to control the narrative, the swift shift from charm to rage. A social worker named Ms. Reeves sat with me, documenting everything. She'd been gentle but thorough, photographing my injuries, taking my statement, asking about past incidents. The story poured out of me. Years of violence disguised as discipline, of injuries hidden beneath carefully chosen clothes, of a father who treated band-aids and ice packs like they could fix broken bones and broken trust. Your mother's teaching license has been suspended pending investigation, she told me quietly, and your father is facing charges for failure to protect and medical neglect. I should have felt guilty. Instead, I felt relieved. The door opened and Dr. Thomas entered with 2 detectives. Your parents are being taken to the station for questioning, he said. You don't have to see them. I want to, I heard myself say. Just Mom. Everyone exchanged concerned looks, but after a brief discussion, they agreed, with conditions. 2 officers would be present, and she couldn't come close to my bed. When Mom walked in, her face was tear-streaked but composed. She'd always been good at pulling herself together for an audience, but I could see the rage simmering beneath her careful mask. Jimmy, she said softly, using my childhood nickname. Baby, why are you doing this to us? To me? In the past, that tone would have broken me. Made me recant, apologize, do anything to make her happy. Not this time. Why did you do this to me? I asked, gesturing to my bandaged ribs. I was your son. You were supposed to protect me. I was disciplining you. You were being disrespectful. I asked about a B+ on your student's paper. I cut her off. That's why you threw me into the counter, because I questioned your grading. She flinched. One of the detectives made a note. You need help, Mom, I continued, my voice stronger than I'd ever heard it. Real help. Not Dad making excuses and covering up what you do. Not me staying quiet and taking it. You ungrateful. She started forward, but the officers stepped between us. The mask cracked completely, showing the fury beneath. After everything I've done for you, I gave you everything. Except safety, I said quietly. Except love that didn't leave bruises. They let her out as she began to cry, but I'd seen those tears too many times to be moved by them anymore. Dad wasn't allowed to visit at all. He'd already admitted to knowing about the abuse and hiding it for years. Later that night, my Aunt Sarah, Dad's sister whom Mom had always kept away from us, arrived from Oregon. She'd been granted temporary custody while the case proceeded. You'll come live with me once you're released, she said, holding my hand. New school, new start, new life. Somewhere safe. What about Mom and Dad? They'll face consequences for their actions, Ms. Reeves explained. Your mother will likely face assault charges and lose her teaching license permanently. Your father will probably face charges too, but that's not your concern anymore. Your job now is to heal, physically and emotionally. Dr. Thomas stopped by one last time before his shift ended. You did something incredibly brave today, James. You broke a cycle of silence. I thought about Mom's students, how they saw only the caring teacher with perfect lesson plans and gentle smiles. I thought about Dad, who thought love meant hiding bruises and making excuses. I thought about all the years I'd spent learning to breathe shallow, to stay quiet, to keep their secrets. Will it always hurt? I asked, not just talking about my ribs. The physical pain will heal, he replied. The other kind takes longer, but that's what therapy is for. And you'll have support this time, real support, not people who tell you to be quiet and pretend. As night fell over the hospital, I watched the city lights flicker outside my window. Somewhere out there, Mom was probably still crying, Dad still making excuses. But for the first time, their drama wasn't my responsibility. I took a deep breath, feeling the pain but accepting it as part of healing. Sometimes you have to break the silence to break free. Sometimes the hardest truth to tell is the one that sets you free. Tomorrow would bring more questions, more statements, more hard conversations. But tonight, I could finally breathe, shallow or deep. It was my choice now. And I chose to never be quiet about abuse again.